Avoiding torpedoes. So torpedoes home. You may have heard about this. So when the pings are going to come in, the pings are going to come in from a direction, you know, whatever. Let's say the pings are coming in from over here. And let's say that they end up striking the hull and starts to light it. So initially you're going to be lit with, let's use, I guess, a little pink thing. Boop, you know, there's a little whatever. If they get a second hit, it's going to turn green. That's going to be a double hit. Might have an extended duration. It can be kind of scary. So if you are moving forward, what does this mean? That as the torps are coming in, the torps are going to be coming in roughly from somewhere over there, which means that the torps will be moving. If you are moving forward, we'll put a big line here to say going forward. The torps are going to be aiming for this spot, which means the torps will be on this line, so that as you move forward, those torps are going to dead zone out a certain distance from the ship, and they're going to come in, bonk, and they're going to hit. So what this means is this ping here is going to cause the torps to lead on approximately this line. And now that you know that, how could you avoid it? You slow down. Because if the torps are going out there and you have a basically a lose lock distance where the torps will dumbfire, as you start to slow down, these torps will try to hook in and then cross this dumbfire distance and simply go in front of you and miss. So if it's in the front of your ship and you're moving forward, you can slow down when you see the torps and possibly generate a miss. If you are instead reversing, we can look at this from that angle. Trim all that off. So instead, in this case, you are moving the other way with your ship, and we have a ping on the back half. So again, if you're moving in a direction, the torpedoes are going to kind of try to lead, which means here, the torps are going to be coming in on this line. Why? Because as you're moving forward, they're going to cross the dead zone, and that's where you're going to meet in the middle to hit. So if it's in the rear, what could you do? Well, if this is your line of travel, before you see the torps, if you actually think the torps are going to come for you, what you can do instead is slow down. If you're very concerned about subs, you can slow down and come to a stop. In which case, these torps are no longer going to be leading, they're going to be aiming at. So at some point, when you feel like, you know, the torps are close, or perhaps you happen to see the torps, if you have prop mod, maybe you're on a cruiser, battleship's going to be a little more sluggish, but you start to throw it into full speed here, start to go, and as you start to move forward, these torps, beep, 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 whatever, are going to dead out and potentially miss you completely. Battleships have a very large dead zone. A very, very large dead zone. So if the ping is in the back of the ship, then you can use basically throttle to just kind of move out in front of them. So if you're moving at a distance and you maintain your speed, they'll be able to track that. But if you simply slow down, and then once you start to see them accelerate, they won't be able to compensate for the turn, and the torps will slip by you. As a sub player, this is something that you have to pay attention to. You need to read the position of the ship, because if the ship is going to slow down and potentially start to ram forward, then you need to place the pings as appropriate. So you might alter the ping from that position over to here to try to get your torps to pull forward prior to this lockout distance so that they can try to have some kind of interaction. So if this dude ends up going forward, he's going to start to accelerate, but those torps on that line might actually catch him in the rear of the ship. Because once you have a double ping, you can move the double ping, but if you select a different section of the ship when you have a double ping on it, it doesn't increase the timer. It moves the ping, and it stays double pinged, but it does not re-update the timer. The only way that happens is if you ping the exact same spot for another time to re-up it to its max duration. So you can actually watch as a ship moves forward or backward and try to actively ping different sections of it, the rear of the ship, the front of the ship, to try to maneuver the torps on their final, terminal approach, so to speak, so that you can have that interaction. But you have to remember, if you're in a surface ship, you have that ability too. One other interaction that we can talk about. Other things for avoiding torps. Islands. Islands are extremely detrimental to torp play because the torps don't understand that islands exist. So if you have an island here, for instance, kind of looks like a whale, and your ship is here because you're doing gunboat play or whatever, if you're pinged and there are enemy torps coming in, if you sit still, the torps will simply come in and strike you. If you move this way, the torps will lead and strike you out there. If, when you see the torps, you just start to pull forward, you don't even have to go forward very much, the torps will immediately start to juke to try to lead you, and then they will dead out and simply crash into the island. You can't be hit that way. You control your positioning in that sense. So if you're in a smoke screen or something, if you feel, you're getting pinged while you're in a smoke screen, because subs can land pings in that, and you want to be able to juke the torps, as long as you see them at, say, 2 kilometers, you might have a 1 kilometer dead zone. And because of that, the torps will try to actively maneuver, assuming the dead zone is there, and you just move your ship lazily to the left, and then you come back out and you continue your gunboating. The torp threat is removed. One other way to avoid torpedoes is to use the predictive nature of the torps against them. So let's say that your ship is pinged, and the ping is coming from a southern direction. So torps are coming in, say, roughly on this heading. What can you do? If you turn in this direction, the torps understand how to lead, therefore the torps will peel off so that they can lead and strike you. If you turn directly into the torps, that can actually be a method of avoidance because the torps themselves are going to be left and right of the actual guidance section of the ping, because the guidance is done from between the torps, not from each individual torp. And depending on the size of your ship, including submarines, you could actually fit within the gap, in which case it doesn't do anything. But here's going to be a more advanced version. So if you have, say you're in a destroyer and you have torps coming in, or at least you feel that you have torps coming in on X heading, because that's where you got pinged from, so you can assume, hey, they're probably coming in from over there. What you can do instead is you can start to turn out, or at least point yourself in this direction. And as soon as you see torps, start to turn. There's going to be, again, a dead zone where the torps are no longer going to be able to home. So if the first thing that happens is you maybe turn a little left like you're doing an S-turn and then you cut back to the side, the torps will immediately start to follow, or to cut out as though they're going to lead, and then you simply cut in and they can't follow you. So they juke. So the long and the short of it is there's ping positions and how you can move relative to the ping positions if you're broadside. There's use of islands to guide homing torpedoes into the island and not into you. And then there's using the lead of a torp against itself so that you can cut in at the last minute depending on what your position is and how responsive your ship handling it is. That's going to be tips and tricks for avoiding torpedoes.